The way to start your day
has been achieved. Is it wooing Mount Kenya again by coming and promising development? We'll talk about this. Two gentlemen join us this morning. One of them is already here. He's a senator in the Republic of Kenya representing the county of Murang'a. Joe Nyutu is here this morning. Good morning, Senator.
Good morning, dude.
How are you doing?
I thank God.
Yeah?
I'm well.
You're well?
Yes.
I have a feeling that perhaps that other thing that you're not saying is going to come out during this conversation.
Yes, because of course you have to set that stage before we finally open up fully.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Jarvis Bigambo will join as well. He'll be here in a short while. He is a political analyst. We'll look at a number of these things. But even as we do, we're going to start the conversation anyway. Dennis took us to Egypt this week.
Yes. Beautiful country, a population of 107 million people. And Nile River is one of the most important waterways in the country because they call it the lifeblood, because it's the source of water for agriculture and for consumption in that home. And the pyramids of Giza still continue to be a spectacle around the world because of technology that was applied back in the days, innovation that still stands tall today. And many ask, how did they do it? You know, but one thing about them as well, when you talk about social equity, women in Egypt actually had the chance to own land from way back in the ancient days. So talk about equality, men and women, they exercise it way back. But let's go to the proverb. A monkey looks like a deer in the mother's eyes. A monkey looks like a deer in the mother's eyes. How would you interpret it?
Well, that in your mother's eyes, you are the best. I mean, something like what we say, that east or west home is the best, that in the eyes of your mother, it doesn't matter what other people think about you, it doesn't matter how bad you are, but for a mother, it's my child, my child, my child.
My child.
Yes.
You'll always be the blue-eyed boy.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good for sure. Now, let's look at a number of things. The conversation must progress, but far be it from us to not look at the underlings of any situation. Yes. The president comes back to Mount Kenya in a few days, maybe when he's back, and Murang'a County is actually where he will pitch tent for some time. And this essentially would be a litmus test about all the things that have been said in the recent past about what the attitude is of central Kenya, again, the mountain, towards the president and this administration. So him coming back is twofold. An answer for himself, maybe to get a feel of what exactly is going on, and an opportunity for the mountain, again, to express itself about what it actually does feel. Your opening on that, he's chosen to come back to Murang'a, your county. He's chosen to come here to do those two things for the people and for himself, of course. So what do you think, that the mountain is being romanced again? Is it necessary?
They can do, and I think the president is walking a tightrope. Because remember that 47% of the vote that he was able to garner in 2022 came from the mountain. But then mistakenly or deliberately, he decided that, of course, he was smarter than everybody else and that he could do away with 47% of his total vote in 2022. And, of course, in his thinking, tried to compensate for that from elsewhere. And his eyes, from my analysis, his eyes looked at Nyanza. Are looking at Nyanza now, but his eyes were fixed on ODM. He thought that the late Prime Minister, God rest his soul in peace, would support him. And so in his chest thumping, of course, he thought that Raila Amolo Odinga had polled about 6.9 votes against his 7.1 votes, and so he thought he could do away with, of course, Mount Kenya votes of close to 4 million, and in his thinking inherit the 6.9 votes, and so he thought, he did not need this, in quotes, useless block of votes. But then circumstances changed, and unfortunately, ODM still, even before Baba passed on, could not hold together, and so things became slippery for President Ruto. Especially after Baba then passed on, then ODM now became even further divided. Of course, everybody knows about the factions that are there. And I must say that I think now the president has discovered or has realized that ODM may not be able to compensate for the votes that he threw away, because he actually threw the votes away. And how did he do that?
Threw the votes at the mountain away?
Yes.
Okay.
Deliberately, because of chest thumping, because of what I've said, where he thought that, and you know that there is a clip, I know you have seen it, that records him saying that he has, that they as Kalenjins have a big problem with the Kikuyu, but then you have to be smart and, of course, seek government first to deal with the problem that we have. So that is what he did. So when we assisted him, when we helped him, ascend to power, then he set on the mission of dealing with the problem in quotes, which is the Kikuyu. And he thought, I would deal with them, then go to Baba Raila Amolo Odinga and compensate for them. So to answer your question, he has realized that he still needs the mountain more than maybe he needed it in 2022. And that's why he's coming back to the mountain, to Muranga. I think he scheduled to be Muranga tomorrow. But we are saying that as he comes to Muranga, the people of Muranga have not forgotten the promises that he made. The people of Muranga have not forgotten that the Mau roads are yet to be done. The people of Muranga have not forgotten that Boniface Karaoke, the mask vendor who was shot after not, without any provocation to the police, comes from Muranga. There's another young man from a constituency called Kigumo who also was killed by the police last year, and another one from Kandara. The people of Muranga have not forgotten this. So when he comes, those are the questions we are telling our people to ask him if they can be able to, if they can get an opportunity. The promises you made, the young people we have lost to your police, and many other things. The insults that we are tribalists, having voted for him, knowing very well that he was not one of us. Those are the things that people will want to hear him talk about. But I can tell you, Dennis, that William Ruto has no votes remaining in a mountain. That one I can tell you. But of course, people will say, let's wait for elections and see how it goes. But of course, we are there. Analysis are there. We know what our people are telling us. We're on the ground. And so he is welcome to come to Mount Kenya, maybe do his, it's a tour. He'll be happy to see people whom he thinks have no brains and they are tribalists. They know whom he is. But they wait for August 10th next year to show him that you do not promise people things. Then you start insulting them, and you don't keep any promise. You start insulting them because you think that you are very smart. You are smarter than everybody else. You can be able to compensate for their support, and you think that those people are very stupid. They do not remember these things.
Javas, the president will be heading back to Mount Kenya, and with this, we expect more promises to go to the people in the region. But that notwithstanding, many also ask the question: the president is going back there, first of all, to consolidate his voting bloc, more promises. But another big question is heavy on promises, zero on development. Is that a fact? Is that how many view the president, especially now that he's going back to the mountain?
Thank you so much. First, for this invitation, my two relatives. Secondly, I think my view is quite a significant departure from what the celebrated senator has opined here. It is conceptually percussive that any leader and any party, once elected into government, they must be seized of the fact that they need to deliver on the mandate that the people granted them. And that is delivering on the manifesto. Now, having listened quite keenly on my very good friend, Senator Nyutu, who I think is a well-spoken man, and away from having immersed himself in Kikuyu exceptionalism, he's a good leader who has got a great future. And I think people of Murang'a will be lucky in future to continue having his services. But Senator from Murang'a is very wrong on a couple of fronts. One, and he's here, we would like to opine on these issues. One, are there national government projects being implemented in Murang'a County, for example, far from other parts of central Kenya? He's here. He knows, for example, that affordable housing project is being implemented in Mackenzie. He knows, for example, that it's people from Murang'a, people from central Kenya, who are employed across the various counties working in these affordable housing projects and various markets. Senator Nyutu, a good man, is aware, for example, that upon completion of the Maragua bulk water project, it is the people, his people in fact, and many others, who will benefit from these projects. And there is always the warped thought that when a leader in the mold of a president is in office delivers on projects, those are his projects. No president has got his own money to deliver for the benefit of the people. We know all public projects are being implemented by public funds.
We do.
We all know for a fact.
Okay.
Secondly, it should not be seen that, for instance, when President Mwai Kibaki, the late, was overseeing the implementation as president of the Thika Superhighway, he was trying to consolidate votes from Mount Kenya. When President Uhuru Kenyatta, former president, was overseeing the implementation of the expressway, it was not for the sake of votes. And so when President William Ruto is implementing projects across the country, and say, for example, even in Mount Kenya, it's not merely for purposes of votes. He must and he is delivering on his manifesto. Now, I am a radical socialist. Senator Nyutu here is a radical social centrist. And that is why his perspective is primarily centered on matters votes alone. President William Ruto is on record, for example, having indicated that he was not voted into office to look for votes or to be re-elected. He was voted for that term to deliver, and when the people will be satisfied with his implementation record, then they can consider, or they will consider, re-electing him. As a matter of fact, Ndu, in matters execution of the office of president and presiding over the province of the internal affairs of this country, the ledger for the president and his administration is open for analysis and review. There are a couple of projects across the country, for example, that are being implemented. Senator Nyutu here is aware, for instance, that the dualing of the Rironi-Mayu Summit Road all the way will help and link Nairobi, parts of central Kenya, parts of Rift Valley, even in the end, as it will link up all the way parts of Western to the border of Busia and Uganda. These are projects that will make Kenya better. So it's not so just merely about roads, rather merely about votes. It is about all of us being seized of the fact that Kenya needs to move forward by strict, thorough implementation of projects. There may be challenges, and there will be many, by any leader. Senator Nyutu here will not be re-elected into office merely on the basis of being a celebrated critic of President William Ruto. he should be voted back into office by properly executing the office of senator for Murang'a County.
How do you do that if the overlying messaging is that the president or anybody visits a particular area or insists on development in a particular area for the sake of getting votes? We can't run away from those optics. And we also know that it's a political tool that's used far and wide. How then do you say, on one side, the people must rid themselves of that notion that the president is doing anything but development, whereby it is obvious and it has been used as a political tool for time immemorial that I will go to a certain area to do a certain thing because I want them to recognize me and give me their vote? It doesn't matter what, if you wake up in the middle of the night and you're asked, it's very clear what some of these things are used for. People have actually spoken and said, you see, as a result of us coming together, we now see development in Homa Bay. We now see development because we've come together. It's a tool. We cannot run away from the reality that it's being used. How can we then, in the same breath, Javas, say that people should not think it's anything but development when we know that it is being used for just that, political expediency?
In politics, public sentiment is everything. And goodwill, in fact, is the icing on the cake. Every political leader, including Senator Nyutu here, requires the support and the goodwill of the people, including the people that voted for him, not just those within his province of mandate. But I think I am chagrined by the fact that when any leader visits a place, depending on their stage in society, they are being deemed to be in search of votes. Now, that is perception. You've said it clearly. The thing is this. The president must be peripatetic. He must move across all the 47 counties and ensure that the commitments that he made to the people are being followed through by way of real-time implementation.
Okay.
President William Ruto, in the run-up to the 2022 general election, he toured Nyanza many times, far too many times. He toured Kisii many times, and some other parts of the country. Those parts, some of these parts did not even vote for him. So touring alone does not amount to consolidation of votes. But any leader, especially a national leader, must be conscious of the fact that they must be nationalistic. And remember, Senator Nyutu here is aware too, as all of us are, the president is a symbol of national unity. But Kenyans are tired of mere symbolism. So it's not just a question of symbolism. It's a question of retooling this symbolism for national good, national conversation, national development and progress.
I mean, Senator Nyutu, 2022 campaigns, you are part of the people who campaigned for the president. And one would ask the question then now, perhaps, are there any specific promises that are given to the people of Murang'a County that when the president is coming in, the people will be asking, these are promises you gave to us at the time when you were campaigning that when you become president, these are things that would come to people of Murang'a County. And where are we with that when it comes to implementation? So again, I ask the question, is the president heavy on promises, zero on implementation? And has the president as well panicked that now he sees the need of coming back to the mountain to consolidate his voting bloc? And is there room for that?
Thank you, Dennis. But before I answer your question, allow me to say one or two things related to what Javas has said. He has said that I'm a Kikuyu exceptionalist or something like that, that I'm immersed into Kikuyu exceptionalism. I must remind Javas to be realistic. The question that I was answering was related to President Ruto's visit, specifically to Murang'a. Now, Murang'a is a Kikuyu county. So when I talk about Murang'a and the promises that were made in Murang'a and what Ruto said in a particular clip that Javas may not want to comment about, that does not make me a Kikuyu exceptionalist. But anyway, I have no regret to be Kikuyu and I have no apologies to make. I'm elected to represent the people of Murang'a before I do other things. I mean, I'm a nationalist, but elected to represent the people of Murang'a. So if I talk about the people of Murang'a who are Kikuyu, I mean, then you say I'm an exceptionalist, a Kikuyu exceptionalist. Of course, that is being very unfair to me because I have to talk for the people whom I represent. Now, he says that there are many government projects that the president has initiated in Murang'a County, for example. And he mentioned a project, which it's true, it's there at Mackenzie, a housing, affordable housing project. But I don't know whether Javas, this housing thing is something that is laughable. What is there, Javas? And maybe you may go and do some research. We have a project that is supposed to, when completed, it is supposed to have 120 units, or it's a 120 unit project. The only one in Murang'a that, of course, is underway. But Javas, Murang'a has a population of about 1 million. So when you tell us that, when you insinuate that we should celebrate William Ruto because he's development conscious, because of putting up about 120 units in a county that has a population of 1 million people, I mean, it's laughable. This is just a drop in the ocean. He says that President Ruto was not elected to be elected. I mean, to look for votes in 2027. I wish, because I think Javas talks to him, I wish you could remind him that, because you are the one saying it. He doesn't remember. President Ruto started looking for votes in 2027. Immediately he was elected. That is why he's always on car roofs. That is why you will hear him saying, unaona kuna mtu wa saizi yangu kwa hawa watu nitawanyorosha asubuhi. What is that? What is he doing? He is campaigning to be elected in 2027. And I can tell you, Javas, I'm not very widely traveled, but I've been to Rwanda, for example, which is doing very well. It's a small economy, but that is being managed very well. Just check how many times you see President Kagame on car roofs and going out there. He sits in the office, empowers institutions and the people that man those institutions, and that is why Rwanda is doing so well. But President Ruto has to go and even be there when we are giving some money, Nyutu funds, to young people, which is done electronically. But he has to go there, expending a lot of resources.
That's interesting. We're going to go to a break in a minute, but Chawas, why would the president need to go around the country to actually be present where these things are happening? Does he have to be there? I mean, of course, you gave the example of President Kibaki and the Thika Superhighway, but then looking at President Kibaki's administration, he's rarely seen.
Yeah.
In fact, I think at some point criticized for being too quiet in his development agenda, and still things seem to work. Why would the president need to be everywhere?
No, as long as the codes of memory lengthen. We may recall that when he was deputy president and candidate for president, Honorable William Ruto went around the 47 counties and held economic fora with the people.
Also, it's a thing of practice now.
That's one. Second, it was a question of seeing, feeling, engaging with the people to pick their ideas. Remember, public participation is a cardinal principle in governance. And that is what even informed his manifesto. And Senator Nyutu was a part of that. During the implementation, if at all in the making of the plan, he engaged with the people, met the people. What then should be the fault line here? Or so awful about him then engaging with the people?
Okay, this could just be his style. This could just be his style.
Every president has got his own style.
So this could be his.
Jomo Kenyatta had his. President Moi had his. Mwai Kibaki had his. President Uhuru Kenyatta had his. President William Ruto has his.
So this is his style? This is my question.
It's his style.
Okay.
Look, when you look at Senator Nyutu here, his predecessor had a different style from him. Every leader has got their own style. There must be no paternalistic right to determine that a president in office should use a particular script or playbook in terms of governance.
Okay, let's take a break at this point. Can you hold on to that, Senator? Just don't forget that point. We'll take a break. It's 27 minutes to 8 o'clock. Senator Nyutu and Javas Bigambo here with us in the studio. That point is coming after the break.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Room, the only way to start your day.
That Javas gives you is that the president, it is his style. The only thing Javas needs to remember, and maybe he can also tell this to the president again, is that his style is costing Kenyans a big, costing Kenyans big in terms of resources. Because remember, when the president visits a place, I mean, it's very expensive to transport a president
For one day.
or even for one day because of the attendant, organization and whatever that has to be there. So we cannot afford this style of the president visiting places every day because it's expensive. It is the same reason, he also has this style of hosting everybody in State House, and giving them cash. Because this is known. These are our people. They go there. They are paid 10,000 sometimes each, 5,000 each. That is why the budget that I think when the President Kenyatta exited, I think the State House budget was around 4.5 billion. President Ruto raised it to 7.7 billion. Now I hear he wants 17 billion next year.
Yep.
So this style, Javas, you must tell the president that this style is costing Kenyans big, and we cannot afford this style. Yesterday there were reports that, actually not reports, both the CS and the PS for education appeared before the, National Assembly's, Education Committee.
Yes.
And it came out that capitation cannot be met by this government because
they
are financed. We cannot then, when we have some such circumstances where we need resources more in education, for example, then we have a president who, because it is his style, he continues expending billions that could go to other relevant more pressing, issues. President Ruto must stick to State House or Harambee House and work from there. President Ruto must empower institutions. President Ruto must give autonomy to CSs and PSs and other departments to implement what he needs implemented. We are tired of seeing him on car roofs and visiting, counties every day of the week. He's out there. We are spending huge amounts of money to finance that lifestyle. If it is his lifestyle, then he should then, meet the expenses of that lifestyle from his own resources.
Let's look at it from the other side. And is there a possibility that the people that he goes to meet actually desire for him to see them and say, well, let's have a physical or tangible reach to this promise? Is it about the promise to the people anymore? One would imagine that the people of Murang'a are now maybe looking forward to a time where they can see. Is that the case?
None other than President Ruto himself has said that people will not be elected on account of how they look like. Sura. He has said that very many times. So the people of Murang'a do not need to see his face because he was not elected because of, on account of his appearance. The people of Murang'a and the people of Kenya want him to fulfill the promises that he kept. He wants him to implement projects that he has promised. They do not want to see his face. Otherwise, we see his face every day on TV. Nobody wants to see him. So it cannot be a case of the people of the electorate wanting to see him. He's not he was not elected on account of his appearance. So we do not want to see him. We want to see his projects. And in any case, a good student, for example, waits for the teacher to mark an exam for him, and the teacher to to give back a report.
Okay.
Let the project speak for him. We do not need him in the counties every day. We have governors. So let him concentrate on his job, implementing, see to it that projects are implemented, and most importantly, to give autonomy to people who are supposed to serve in ministries and departments. He is micromanaging everything.
All right.
And that is why probably people are saying even his health could be, affected by that. Because you cannot do everything. He is human. Let him delegate. Let him give people autonomy to do what they...
Javas, you talked about the president and projects that are being implemented. And many would say that projects are seen. Projects are felt. Projects are things that speak for themselves. the president does not need to show up in each and every single county to give a status report on projects, because there's a reason why we have cabinet secretaries. There's a reason why we have PSs who are the implementers of policies and projects that there are. Why does the president see the need to be in every village, in every county, in every constituency to launch projects, things that could be done by his juniors? You know, we talk about Mwai Kibaki and his style. Does not mean that because he did not show up, projects were not being done. Because you talk about moving the president, you said rightfully so, he has to go back to his people and meet his people. But research shows that moving the president costs around $1 million bob per trip. So that means if the president goes for 10 trips, you're talking about $1 billion. How many trips has the president gone to? Yet we have other pressing issues like education capitation is going down. We have healthcare that is on its deathbed. One asks the question, these projects, are Kenyans feeling them? Shouldn't the president wait for Kenyans to tell him, sir, this is not working, he doesn't need to come?
Dennis, you ask very fundamental questions. Questions which should help us pierce through the veil of falsehoods. One, the Constitution bestows upon the president two primary mandates. One, he is the head of state, then head of government. Nobody else is, except him. As head of government, his administration, it behooves him to preside over the running and oversee the implementation of projects that he committed through his manifesto. Second, I read somewhere within the covers of the Constitution of Kenya, and the good senator has read too, Parliament has been bestowed with the critical mandate of budgetary allocation to institutions, public institutions. Whatever is allocated to county governments as shareable revenue, whatever is allocated to the judiciary, whatever is allocated to the presidency is done by Parliament. The president does not allocate money to the executive. The president does not allocate money to constitutional commissions. Okay. It is Parliament. No, it's a matter of fact. It is codified.
Yes.
Secondly, yes, it is important that we must be prudent in expenditure. We are talking about issues to do with tightening our belts.
He said it.
Yeah? And every president has said it. President Uhuru Kenyatta said it. President Mwai Kibaki said it. Harsh economic times necessitate us being prudent with austerity measures. And that does not mean that public officers should not move in execution of their duties. But we may just want to see to what extent and how effectively is that movement for the benefit of the people. Now, to the good senator here, I've challenged him. You talked about projects being implemented. I've given, for example, the example of the Rironi Summit Road. The president pronounced himself. Works are ongoing. Even to his own people, the people of Murang'a, there's the issue of land tenure ownership. The issue of ownership of land by way of distribution or granting of title deeds. Very many people from Murang'a County now own land, have a titled land. Not just in Murang'a, across central Kenya, across many other parts of Kenya. Many people have struggled with land ownership. Now, I talked about the issue of the Maragua bulk water supply project. Won't it help with access to clean water and sanitation? Won't it help with irrigation and agricultural work in Murang'a County and many other parts neighboring? My point is this, and those are not just issues within the plan. Those are issues that are even vital and captured within the Sustainable Development Goals. So let's face it. My argument is that we need to change our brand of politics. That we can look at issues with sober satisfaction that policies and governance and laws and institutions need to be constantly under microscopic watch by the people for the transformation and turnaround of the people.
Is it possible that we look at this through the lens of things that are supposed to be done anyway? that we stop ascribing these things which are constitutionally mandated to individuals because they sit in a position of authority or governance. That it doesn't take away from the fact that they are supposed to be done. The people of Murang'a should have running water. The people of Kisumu should have running water. The people of Mombasa should have running water. The person who comes into government is supposed to make sure these things happen. So you don't need a pat on the back. You don't need a glorification of that process to say, look at what they did under the plan. No. You are supposed to do it anyway, in the most financially prudent way that you can. So how can we stop this thing where it looks as though favors are being done? Because guess what? You know how the way it looks right now, and maybe you can dissuade us from this position, Javas, and maybe Senator, that how can we stop looking at these things as favors? We've had people over the last 6 months say to us, oh, you see now, because of this broad-based government or whatever it is, we now have housing in Homa Bay. No, it's your job. This is what you're supposed to do, that you're supposed to create an environment where these things can thrive. It is your job. If you fulfill your mandate, you're doing your job. When I come and do my job, nobody claps for me every day because I'm doing my job. You do your job. But how do we divorce this thing that you're supposed to be doing, especially since nobody asked you. You came and said, I am the man or the woman for the job. So when you do your job, are people supposed to be quiet when you're overspending? Because you know what? 89 billion shillings is the grand total that has been spent by State House, Office of the President, Office of the Deputy President, Office of the Prime Cabinet Secretary, State Department Parliamentary Affairs, State Department Cabinet Affairs between July 2022 and March 2026. 89 billion shillings. And we're still being told this will happen, you will have. So how do you divorce the politics from the job that you're supposed to do?
No, you've spoken the truth. In fact, if a statue of truth were to be erected, it would be called Ndu.
Hallelujah.
And that time is not far from here. Let's face it. You have raised issues that are reported in the dailies about expenditure in the executive. It is important for us to appreciate that government succeeds by spending, but spending prudently. What we need to ask is, to what extent were those finances spent prudently in service and for the benefit of the people? Institutions run by way of being financed. The presidency is not a single unit. It's broad, it's humongous. So what we need to do is have an incisive look at the 89 billion and ask ourselves to what extent was there prudent use of those public funds. The other thing is this. If it's a question of financing projects or enabling public officers, for example, even Senator Nyutu here is enabled to move to serve the people, we cannot question that except if it is excessive. And that's why we need to look at. And that's why we've got other institutions, Office of the Control of Budget, Auditor General, etc. When they raise issues, then we go back as a people and ask ourselves, then how should we look at these streamline things for the better of the people? You ask also another question, that how can we reorganize our politics, our thinking, and our perspective such that when somebody is discharging his or her duties, they must not be praised for it. True. When you seek public office and you work by the guidelines that are there, it is your duty. Only to the extent that you satisfy that execution, the people should be happy. But there are people that have occupied public office and departed from the very guidelines of the mandate that is bestowed upon their laps by the law. Well, going contrary to public expectation, then people will frown upon it. So I think that's why I said we need to change our brand of politics. Let us get to be looking at issues in a manner that makes us move forward, depart from a politics that is only vitriolic. Look at even how politicians have been engaging in all these ping-pong games in the recent weeks. Talking about dystopic politics, somebody saying, for example, and even his party leader, that we will not have a country here. I mean, we need to have leaders, whether government or opposition, who are talking about preserving the country and its future. Not talking about the necessity, urgency, or probability of them presiding over anarchy and the annihilation of a country.
Jervis, and Senator, as you come in, when you talk about vitriol, both sides stand accused of the same. The president as well, we've seen him atop of his vehicle doing the same, as well as United Opposition as well. Both sides stand accused of this. But I would go back to matters to do with, I'd give example of China. One of the countries where we talk about development, you never see President Xi going anywhere to launch projects. Everything is just moving because it is a system, it is structure. You ask yourself how much it would cost to move President Xi, and you would talk in terms of humongous amounts. But let's come back to Kenya. Does it make sense to the people of this republic, even people of Murang'a, that we would spend billions of shillings moving the president, yet a hospital in Murang'a does not have medicine, does not have equipment, doctors are not paid on time, children do not have enough to go to school, TVET, tertiary education students do not have bursaries that would enable them access education? Would it make sense to anyone in this country that they are unable to get what they call basic services, yet we're spending billions of shillings on things that are not necessary? For me, that's the question.
That is a billion-dollar question that Javas will not answer. The lifestyle that costs Kenyans billions of shillings just to massage somebody's ego and for somebody to do his campaigns. Of course, it can never make sense. That's why, of course, I had said that we have very many problems with education. Of course, I know Javas will tell you that health is devolved, and so if the president comes to Murang'a and finds that maybe Murang'a level 5 hospital doesn't have enough, medical supplies and that kind of thing, he will tell you that that is devolved. You should not blame it on the president. But then there has been a very long-standing question in the Senate. The funds that we are leaving at the center still. If you look at the entire health budget, for example, whatever is left in Nairobi is too much. I mean, this burden is given to counties with their meager, allocations. But talking about education, which then Javas now cannot say is devolved, because it's devolved only to, to pre-primary level. I mean, we have now junior school. Which is basically secondary school.
It is.
These learners do not have labs because, I believe it was a mistake, to make this decision to have, junior schools within what we had as primary schools. Because, of course, there are many problems. So we need labs in these schools. We need lab equipment. We need very many things which have not been done. This number of teachers, we are told, 56,000 teachers. Most of them are interns. They are not employed on permanent and pensionable basis. So anyway, we can have a long list of the problems that we have and of what the monies that the president is basically wasting can do for the benefit of Kenyans, because we have very pressing issues. But allow me to say, to put some things must be very clear. So the Javas, because he speaks for the president, does not mislead our viewers and listeners. When he says that it is parliament that allocates funds to, for example, State House, because I think he wanted to say that the president is innocent when he spends, when he's given 17 billion, because actually he's given that money. No, Javas, you must let the people of Kenya know that departments make requests to Parliament, and the allocation are based on these requests, and also that President Ruto has captured Parliament. So other requests, and you heard the PS yesterday, PS Basic Education, saying that his request, I think, was about 300 something, 45 billion. He was given 200 something, short I mean, he fell short by about over 110 billion. But that one will be adjusted. But the president's request, I mean, State House request, will not be adjusted because he has captured parliament. So we must tell Kenyans the truth. When he talks about the Maragua bulk water project, we must let the people know that this is a project that was initiated by Uhuru Kenyatta and which Ruto fought so hard, saying that it was meant to supply water to an estate that the Kenyatta family wanted to put up at Northlands. I mean, so this is not this. He cannot take any credit for this. This is a project that was, conceived and, born by President Kenyatta's administration. And I want to agree with you on 100%, with you 100% do. That when we do our job, we should not expect anybody to pat our backs. That is why when you feed your children or pay fees for them, you do not expect them to sing praises for you. It is your responsibility. It is your duty. So, I mean, for the president to expect that and to say that people must work with him politically for them to bring development, that is something that we must, isolate and say it's very unfortunate. The people of Murang'a do not have to support the president. The people of Murang'a are taxpayers. They have a right to development, whether we support the president or not. After all, the president will not initiate projects in Murang'a, using funds from his chicken farm that he prides about. These are national resources, public resources. And, allow me also to say something that he has said, that my party leader says that there will be no country here, that he's pessimistic, and we must be optimistic. What my party leader, His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua, does is warning that if we go on this trajectory, then we may not have a country. I know he has said that if SHA continues operating the way it is operating, in the next few months, it could collapse. That is not being pessimistic. That is telling people that if things do not change, then we are not headed in the right direction. You cannot call that pessimism. That is, the truth. We have to plan if we do not want to fail. If we fail to plan, then we are planning to fail. And so we must put these things in perspective. And Java said something very interesting, but does not want to expound on it, that governments succeed by spending. I liked that. But he added, but spending prudently. He will not tell us how prudent it is to transport the president to even go and launch a transformer, because he has done that. I mean, how prudent would that be? That you spend, tens of millions to go and launch a transformer worth maybe 1 or 2 million.
I hear you on that.
Where is the prudence?
Our time runs out, but in the few seconds that we have left, Jarvis, I just want to ask, where do you think that the minds of the people rest in all of this, and in that short time? The people of Kenya are expectant. Where do they play in all of this web of politics? Quickly.
The people are the fulcrum of all this. And there are people that are very much excited by the president's implementation of projects and his manifesto. There are those that are concerned about some projects that are lagging behind, or those that are concerned that other projects that are not completed by the last administration should be implemented. For example, even the Mau roads, they are on progress. So the thing is this, in the fullness of time, that ledger then will be fully open. People will ask themselves, of the projects that the president committed or since he took office, how many have been implemented fully? For example, even if it's affordable houses, a number of houses have been occupied already. If it's a question of roads being constructed, there are a number of roads that almost some have been completed, some are being completed.
Yeah.
So my point is this. We cannot put or heap all the people in one basket and say that they are thinking and feeling like Senator Nyutu and are disgruntled with the president. There are people that are happy. There are those that are in the middle. There are those that are going to be happy in the not too distant future.
It's one to watch, that's for sure. We must continue having these conversations. Senator Joe Nyutu, Jarvis Bigambo, thank you for joining us this morning. Good morning, 8 a.m.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.